One of the foundational insights in Nichiren Buddhism is the philosophical truth that nothing exists in isolation. All phenomena, without any exceptions, arise through the intricate confluence and integration of manifold causes and conditions that transcend notions of singular essence or independent origination. As Nichiren Daishonin states, there is no phenomenon that exists without depending on other phenomena. This perspective of fundamental interconnectivity and interdependence may have seemed like a purely metaphysical or spiritual notion when articulated by Nichiren and other Buddhist thinkers centuries ago. However, this insight has been stunningly corroborated and elucidated by multiple domains of modern scientific investigation. From quantum physics to ecology, a variety of fields are underscoring the universe's intrinsic holism and the interpenetrating, codependent nature of all phenomena. In the words of pioneering American ecologist John Muir, when we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. This sentiment directly echoes Nichiren's assertion regarding the interdependence of all dharmas or phenomena. Both Buddhist philosophy and contemporary ecological understanding highlight that the world we inhabit is not a collection of disjunct, independently operating parts. Rather, it is a profound, dynamic intersection of symbiotic systems, forces, and processes that give rise to each apparent thing, through unfathomably complex webs of relationship. Even the humble tree growing outside your window, from the perspective of modern ecology, is not a singular, autonomous entity. It is an exquisitely dynamic coalescence birthed from sunlight, soil microorganisms, fungi, pollinating insects, rainwater cycles, and the respiration of diverse life forms. It is quite literally constituted by and dependent upon a subtly oscillating, symbiotic matrix spanning from the subatomic to global levels. Its foliage provides oxygen for animals while consuming their expelled carbon dioxide, embodying Nichiren's insight: life does not allow itself to be possessed by any single entity. On more vast scales, we can look to the intricate holism of meteorological phenomena. A single weather event like a rainstorm does not arise from a solitary cause or isolated set of antecedent conditions. It materializes from almost unfathomably complex interconnections of climatic patterns, atmospheric disturbances, temperature differentials, topographic features, and even minuscule variables like the timing of distant avian migrations. As Nichiren taught, all things are formed through the meshing of primary and secondary causes that spread out in an unremitting, linked relationship. No one element, not wind currents, humidity levels, or solar radiance, takes precedence as a standalone progenitor. A rainstorm's emergence victoriously manifests through the fluid dynamism of intricately contingent, co-constituting chains of events interwoven across vast spatial and temporal expanses. Similar paradigms of holism and interdependence undergird fields like neurobiology and ecosystem studies. A single conscious experience or thought arising in the human brain cannot be traced back to one discrete neuronal source, but rather blooms from the networked firing of billions of synaptic connections, interwoven feedback loops, and cascading chains of preceding cognitive and somatic occurrences. The diverse species inhabiting a woodland are not disparate, independently subsisting entities but symbiotic presences linked through intricate cycles of nourishment, pollination, decomposition, competition, and mutualism, each life form co-creating the conditions for the other's continued existence and unfolding. Nowhere, however, do we find this universal principle of interdependent, contingent origination better exemplified than in the revelations of quantum physics. At the most fundamental levels of reality, classical notions of solid, disjunct things irretrievably break down. What we perceive as discretely individuated particles are in actuality fleeting, oscillating interference patterns emanating from vast energy fields. Elementary quanta do not exist as isolatable, independent entities but rather only manifest their apparent form and behavior through intricate energetic exchanges and entanglements occurring across unfathomably vast interdependent networks. As Nichiren presaged, no single phenomenon manifests its own characteristics, all manifest the cumulative effect, the meshing of primary and secondary causes. An electron, for instance, does not possess indelible properties inherent to its own solitary self. Its apparent location, momentum, spin, and every other characteristic only takes shape through its contextual enmeshment within a relational quantum field encompassing all forces and interrelated events of the universe past, present, and future. Its seeming impermanence and indefinite, fuzzy, nature is a reflection of the endless interdependencies and entanglements that are the actual fabric of its being. As Nichiren expounds, not a single thing has permanence. Non-substantiality is the true characteristic of all phenomena. Ultimately, beneath the level of our conventionally perceived reality, all things are fluid occurrences lacking any fixed essence or independence, perennially co-produced through the undivided dynamics of a holistic, interrelated cosmos. This understanding of phenomena interdependent, contingent arising revealed by both Buddhist thought and modern science has profound implications for our perception of reality and our own sense of self and agency. From the vista point of realizing that nothing possesses intrinsic, immutable existence independent of its mesh of conditional relations, we are liberated from the rigid conceptual constructs and delusions that so often entrap the unenlightened mind. As the influential Nichiren Buddhist scholar Daisaku Ikeda expounds, Buddhism's insight into the interdependence and conditionality of all life leads to a view of existence free of prejudiced outlooks and distortions, a perspective that allows us to grasp the true nature of our lives. It enables us to see that our individual person is a formation brought into existence through the conjunction of multiple relations extending out into the cosmos on multiple dimensions. When we shed the illusion that any phenomenon, including our own sense of selfhood, arises from some unilateral, uncaused source or possesses perduring, essential substance, we open to a radicalized appreciation of life's ceaseless dynamism and permeability. Our fixations on stagnant identities, bitter grievances, and fearful attachments to control are undercut by the realization that every apparent thing, including our own body, mind, is a transient, open system of co-evolving processes without any isolatable core or absolute boundaries. From this enlightened vista, we are liberated into a state of ubiquitous freedom, creative responsiveness, and radical interdependence with the undivided currents of existence itself. We become, in Nichiren's words, the Buddha of the refreshing peace of Bodhi who is in no way constrained by discriminations. Our conventionally perceived selfhood dissolves like the mistaken notion of subatomic particles as permanently segregated units, revealing our true nature as permeable loci within the universal Dharma flow. We experience all apparent dichotomies of self and other, life and death, as artificial bifurcations of a holistic, unbroken continuum we are indivisibly emplaced within. Our perception of linear causality, the notion that singular effects discretely follow from independent causes, fades as we awaken to the profound truth that, in Nichiren's words, no phenomenon manifests its own characteristics. All events, including those we subjectively experience as personal choices or intentional actions, arise as continually reshaping confluences within an intricately entangled nexus of interdependencies. As Ikeda elucidates, we exist as a process of manifold, fluid relationships with all other phenomena, what contemporary physics would call a non-locally integrated whole. Emancipated from delusive self-grasping, we experience ourselves as permeable currents within life's indivisible dynamism, resonantly attuned to the universe's deepest harmonics. In this heightened state, we manifest with profound creativity, spontaneity, and selfless responsiveness. As Nichiren describes, the mind itself is like the moon reflected in water. Though constantly flowing, the reflected form neither disappears nor is destroyed. Our apparent form continually reshapes in concert with the cosmos' endless unfolding, liberated from all dualistic encumbrances and fears of deficiency or disintegration that plague the spiritually unawakened. The Buddhist truth of all phenomena's interdependence and impermanence, reinforced by insights across diverse scientific domains, also reveals that our ability to control or unilaterally impact reality and other beings is an ego-centered delusion. As Nichiren states, nor can one force bring about the realization of any current of the three truths. The unfolding of any event, from the creation of a subatomic particle to the arising of one's own thoughts and actions, emerges through impersonal patterns of infinitely intersecting contingencies beyond any one force's purview. we are liberated from the arrogance of assuming dominion over a universe we are inextricably co-creating through our every mindful instant and embodied resonance. Yet this realization of existing as permeable apparitions within an unbroken continuum should not induce apathy or fatalism, but rather a profound motivation to harmonize our will with life's inherent dynamism and fathomless creativity. As Akeda comments, it is precisely because all phenomena, ourselves included, exist only as passing manifestations amid the ceaseless currents of the universe that our actions have such profound significance they become part of those eternal currents and continue exerting influence forevermore. We participate as co-creating wellsprings within existence's victorious advancement, our thoughts and actions resonantly reverberating across infinite domains. Freed from dualistic fixations, we manifest with the same unconditioned responsiveness as a flash of lightning instantaneously diffusing through the cloud-to-ground matrix or a seed's germination fluidly harmonizing with the confluences of soil, moisture, and light. As Nichiren Daishonin extols, when we overturn our fundamental delusions regarding independence and essential nature, we can show the same tenderness that the Buddha does, manifesting it gently in this world. Our life force becomes a supple conduit for the creative dynamism of the mystic law, expressing itself wholeheartedly in attuned consonance with the interdependent ebb and flow of all phenomena. From the heights of this liberated awareness, even occurrences that the unawakened may perceive as impediments or adversities are seen as profound opportunities to deepen our conscious resonance with the universal Dharma. Illness, aging, and death itself are not existential curses disrupting some imagined permanent stasis. They are simply phases within the regenerative rhythms and interpenetrating unfoldings that characterize the ceaseless upwelling of all life. As Nichiren teaches, suffering exists, but should be perceived quite differently from the way unenlightened people view it. When we awaken to our indivisibility from the universe's interdependent nexus of events and processes, we shed delusions of deficiency, control, and isolation. Every apparent misfortune becomes a revelation of life's majestic unfolding. Our perspective expands from that of a fragmented self encapsulated within impermeable boundaries to a liberated, permeable witnessing of existence's radiant dynamism, a dynamism we are indivisibly emplaced within as fluid, co-creating participants. This existential vista aligns remarkably with the outlook of modern physics and ecology. Just as the quantum world lacks any perduring, solid entities with immutable essences, instead comprising transmuting interference patterns within vast interdependent fields, so too do we as apparent selves manifest as ceaselessly reshaping occurrences within infinitely pervading matrices of contingencies and relationships. The ecologist's holistic purview illuminating all organisms as interdependent members of symbiotic networks echoes Nichiren's wisdom regarding the fundamental non-substantiality of all seemingly discrete phenomena. From the micro to the macrocosmic scale, both venerable Buddhist insight and contemporary science converge in deconstructing all rigid constructs of independent existence. As Nichiren elucidates, no single phenomenon remains constant even for a K-shana, a period incredibly small. Our deeply internalized habits of discriminating and grasping after permanence, whether in relation to sense of self, other subjects and objects, or our notions of reality itself, are revealed as cognitive distortions obscuring the true interdependent nature of our being. In their place arises an enlightened vista of ceaseless creative unfolding in which we experience ourselves as harmonious frequencies within an infinite resonance inextricably entrained bricklers adding our unique tones to the grand symphonic improvisation of a universe perpetually outvibrilliant with its own regenerative expressiveness. It is from within this existential abide of profound integration and mutual interdependence, as Nichiren instructs, that we can cause the Buddha nature within us to be summoned forth. WND 1, 218. Our apparent individuality and agency are liberated expressions of the universal life principle's emergent resplendence. This realization of our indivisibility from all existence, foreglimpsed by Buddhism's insights into interdependence and confirmed across many scientific vistas, allows us to abide with unbounded fearlessness and creative potency. As Daisaku Ikeda summarizes, the truths of the non-substantiality of all things, enable us to develop an outlook free of egocentric attachments and a way of life filled with respect, gratitude, and wonderment for the interdependent and harmonious workings of all life. From this vantage of radical non-separation, the wellsprings of our being overflow with a compassionate resolve to harmonize our existence as resonant expressions of the infinite life force's perpetual victory. Our thoughts and actions embody the very dynamism that pervades all phenomena in transcendent solidarity with their ceaseless advancement and transformation. We live as the Buddha nature itself, the universal life principle's inexhaustible upwelling in harmony with existence's interdependent, kaleidoscopic rhythms of arising, abiding, and renewing across the boundless matrices of time, space, and all-containing emptiness. This awakened awareness of our indivisible solidarity with the cosmos' infinite interdependent dynamism reveals the profoundest dimensions of human freedom and creativity. Rather than being isolated, finite agents encumbered by immutable limitations, we are dynamic loci within existence's perpetual metamorphosis, possessed of inexhaustible potentials and liberated to continually reinvent ourselves in attuned consonance with the universal life principle. As Nichiren writes, "There is no more precious life than this, for this life can unshackle one forever from the bonds of birth and death." In realizing our non-separation from the indivisible whole that transcends all dualities and impermanence, our existence expands into the deathless dimensions of eternal Buddhahood. Limitations and boundaries based on notions of fixed selfhood or essential nature simply dissolve, freeing us to partake as embodiments of existence's own ceaseless self-regeneration. This aligns remarkably with the perspective of modern physics, which reveals that at the most fundamental levels, there are no concretized building blocks of reality, just endlessly shape-shifting patterns of energy and information ceaselessly interweaving in indivisible interdependence and continuity with all else across unbounded spacetime. In the words of physicist David Bohm, the ability of form to be sustained implies a sustained ingathering of multiplicities of new and fresh energies that condense and are held together in a coherence by virtue of some literal movement. Enlightened awareness reveals that we too are such condensations manifesting as brief, uniquely shaped frequencies upheld and thoroughly permeated by the infinite resonance of interdependent currents crisscrossing all domains and dimensions. Rather than being fixed, isolated islands, our selves unfold as ceaseless Bohm depictions, dynamic, lively reiterations emergent within an ocean of potentialities. In the depths of our being, we are not fragile, vulnerable souls but the very cosmic dynamism itself, the fundamental creative force that incubates galaxies and generates each quantum event through its eternal dance of manifestation and renewal. From this vantage of radical non-duality, we don plastic with the energies and forces of existence's continual recomposition, no longer encumbered by fears of stasis, impotence, or disintegration so fettering to the spiritually unawakened. We can fluidly shed habituated patterns and personal stories that once confined us, effortlessly birthing new life vectors in vibrant extemporaneity. As Nichiren exhorts, consigning the transient dignity that belittles one's person to the waves, one should become a woman or man of unbounded freedom. Rather than being essentialized identities, we are limitless resonant potentials expressing existence's infinite improvisatory resourcefulness. This aligns with the deeply holistic worldview being revealed through ecology's mappings of nature's symbiotic networks. An isolated tree cannot reinvent itself endlessly as an ocean organism, mountain lichen, or arboreal fungi. Its apparent form is imprisonment within a relatively inelastic cycle of imposed limitations. We humans are blessed with the profound realization that the particular patterns we manifest as are temporary apertures for the boundless life principle's inexhaustible self-expression. By recognizing our indivisibility from the universe's ceaseless dynamism, we are emancipated into awake participation with existence's own infinite revitalization and continual renaissance. Just as quantum fields give birth to endless diversity through endless self-excitations, so too can we as facets of that infinite source spontaneously out-picture new gestures of unprecedented creativity, not from some centralized ego, but like Indra's net endlessly festing luminous dewdrops anew in kaleidoscopic refraction of all else. We become, as Nichiren describes, likewise manifesting in the human world, in whatever form proves possible, freely and unhindered, like the moon's pure bright portrait reflected on the waters. It is by plunging the depths of our non-substantiality and interdependent nature, of shedding the encumbrances of a fixed, singular identity, that the universe's inexhaustible inventiveness and deathless continuum are mirrored forth from our very being in exquisite, perpetual renaissance. As Daisaku Ikeda elucidates, this recognition of our fundamental non-duality and indelible solidarity with the Dharma has tremendous transformative power. Working on oneself to challenge and break through one's inherent limitations also serves to forge new pathways in the very life of the universe itself. When we fight against our own innate darkness of willful desire, we are in effect developing the energy of the universal life force itself. Our struggle for individual self-reformation resonates simultaneously with the rhythm of change of the greater cosmos.